guys, the time has finally come to make this pie. Welcome back to another state recipe video. This is a series I've been doing on my channel for many years now, where I try to cook a different food that best or really well represents each one of the 50 states. I have gone through over 40 of the states at this point. I have a whole playlist with all of the other videos in it, and today we are tackling Oregon. And with all of the research that I did, Oregon is just really, really well known for a type of berry called a marionberry. I explained this, I think, better in past clips. So you're going to join me like multiple months ago when I picked these berries, then we'll catch back up to present time. So you are currently joining me outside because this state recipe is several years in the making, and I'm not exaggerating that. I am currently filming this in 2022. I am hoping this bush grows enough berries that we can make this in 2022 and I have to wait another year, but we shall see. For Oregon, I was looking everywhere, and every single recipe that I saw involved marionberries, which are a type of blackberry and raspberry hybrid that are grown in Oregon. Looking around online at anything else that I could make, and it's like, no, really, when like Oregon, when you think of like what like food is well known, like it's marionberries, you have to do that. So I'm like, okay, they don't grow locally here, so you can't just go to the store and buy marionberries to make something. So I was like, maybe I can just buy some frozen online, but in order to make like a pie or anything, I would need like 6 cups of them, and it is very expensive to buy them online. At least when I was looking, it was very expensive. So Dan offered up the suggestion of, what if we grow our own marionberry bush? I was like, huh, that's an idea. Now at the time we were living with my mom. We had just moved back to Illinois from Charlotte. We were still sort of in the peak of doing all of the state recipes and finding more of them to do. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's look online and try to like buy a starter bush for this. And when we get it, we can put it at his brother's house, who lived nearby, and they had a little garden, and they said they were totally fine with like putting it in their garden to start growing. And of course we did like no research at all. So we ordered it, we found one online, we ordered it, and like 6 months later it came. And we took it to his brother's house, and they put it in their yard, and the first year it did absolutely nothing. And the second year it started getting like a long vine on it, but it wasn't like flowering or producing any fruit or anything, and we're like, okay. And at that point, we were getting ready to buy our house here in Indiana, and so we needed to transplant it, but because we were moving before we had closed on the house, hi Lambeau, hi Luca, we couldn't plant the marionberry bush vine. It was like a singular vine. So then we had to transplant it out of his brother's garden into his dad's garden, and it stayed there over winter. And then last spring, so a year ago as I'm like recording this, we transplanted it out of his dad's garden and put it here, and it like exploded size-wise. And if you're not familiar, marionberries are essentially like a marionberry bush. It's not like a bush, it's vines essentially. So it started vining all over our fence, which we kind of were like purposefully making it do that. And it grew, it ended up producing, I think like 4 or 5 berries total last year. So we were able to essentially just taste them and find out what they tasted like, which they taste amazing. Very different from a blackberry or a raspberry. They're very, very good. Fast forward then now to this year, present day, and it is the very, very end of May, almost the beginning of June, and I am coming out here to introduce this video like 3 years or so after we initially bought this marionberry bush. I am finally hoping that we will have enough berries this year to actually like cook something with them. I'm hoping to make I don't think I'm gonna have enough for like a full-sized pie, but I'm hoping I'll have enough for like a mini pie or two. But let me flip the camera around and show you what it currently looks like, and I can kind of explain Marionberries a little more to you. Also, sorry for the wind. If it's really windy, I'm trying to use my hand to like block it, but it might just be making it worse. So here is our little Marionberry bush so far. Dan and I, just like 2 weeks ago, built this simple little trellis for it. You can see like wires that go across it on 2 different levels, and it just kind of comes in this corner of our yard. This is where we planted it initially, and you can see like where they're starting to grow up onto here. These are cut really short. These were the vines from last year. So these are the ones that are actually producing the berries this year. So the way that a Marionberry bush works is every year it makes these new shoots of vines, which like this year, these are all the new ones this year that are on this side. And these will grow and not produce anything this year. But next year is when they will produce all of the berries. These on this side are all of the new shoots from last year that will produce berries this year. So these are all growing over here. And then at the end of this year, we'll cut all of these off, and then the ones from next year will start growing on this side and so forth. You can see on here, like there's a berry, there's a berry. You can see in a couple of spots it's starting to flower, like right there. And yeah, there's a big flower there. All of this half is blossoming and going to like turn into berries. I just wanted to do this update because the Marionberry bush was flowering and I thought it looked nice, and I wanted to introduce this recipe that way. So our hope is to make a Marionberry pie with homegrown Marionberries. This is going to be one of the recipes that keeps on giving, because our plan is to continue growing this, obviously, and keep making pies, make jams and preserves and things like that to can. I will update you if anything massive happens. Otherwise, you will jump to the clip of us getting ready to pick the berries. Very quick update on the Marionberry bush, just because I'm out here looking at it. Very excited. You can see there are so many berries starting to grow. Look at all of those. We have all of those. We've got that one. If it decides, there it goes. We've got a ton on here. We've got more, I think, growing on that stem. I don't actually see them. Most of them are down here. But like, look, we have all of those, all of those, all of those. There's a ton more over there. It's very exciting. All right, we just got back. Oh, I can see so many from here. Oh, that's so exciting. We just got back from vacation, so we've been gone for like a week, but we knew before we left that the berries would start to be ready. There's so many of them. Oh my gosh. So we've just come out to start picking some, and we're gonna basically just pick them as soon as they're ready and then wash them and freeze them until we have all of them for the season. And then we'll go through and actually like make something out of them for this recipe. Look at how beautiful this is. Here is the bush. We need to get all of these up there, but look at all those berries. Look at all, the black ones are the ones we're grabbing because those are the ones that are fully ripe and ready. But look at all of those berries. I'm so excited. All right, let's start picking. So it is now present time. It's actually Christmas today. We are filming this on Christmas. I am just very excited to finally get this pie made. And this is what we got. Roughly a cup's worth of berries. You think, Dan?
Yeah, approximately.
About a cup's worth of berries.
Yes.
This is incredibly exciting. Also, Marionberries, when they're fully ripe, they're black. All of these were black when we stuck them in the freezer, but I guess freezing them turned them back to like their raspberry color. I don't really know the science behind that. We are going to make a pie out of these berries. And the recipe that we are using for a Marionberry pie, it's very simple, but it calls for 6 cups of berries, which we do not have. So I'm going to have to scale this recipe back like 6 times. And we're going to be using this dish as our little pie plate. We're just gonna have a nice little tiny pie and hopefully it turns out well. If it doesn't, I'm not really gonna count this recipe a fail because come this next fall, we're gonna have Marionberries out the wazoo and we will easily be able to make a full-sized pie because the amount of vines that are on that trellis right now are insane. As per usual with this series, I will be talking about some history of Marionberries in relation to Oregon, and I will also put a link to all of the sources that I found that history in the description box below, along with a link to the recipe that I am using in the description box below. With all of that, finally, let's get started. All right, so this recipe just calls for using a pre-made pie crust. I don't have that, so we're just gonna make a pie crust from scratch, but it's very easy to do. So I'm just gonna whip together this pie crust really quick, tune back in once that is done, and we can move on to the fun part, which is the filling.
I actually need to correct what I say in this video. I thought the Marionberry was a cross of a blackberry and a raspberry, but it's actually two different blackberries, the Shalom and the Olali. In 1948, George F. Waldo, who worked at Oregon State University, created this berry in Marion County, the namesake of the berry. All right, here is the bottom crust that we have. So that is ready to go. Here's a little bowl I'm going to use for the mixture. And like I said, I need to cut this mixture by sixths. So this calls for 6 cups. I only have about 1 cup, so I have to cut all of the other ingredients down that far to make this work. It seems actually pretty straightforward. 3/4 of a cup is the same as 12 tablespoons, which dividing that by 6 is 2 tablespoons, so that's pretty simple. Same with 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. 1 tablespoon is the same as 3 teaspoons, or 6/2 of a teaspoon, so I only need 1/2 teaspoon. And that's essentially it for the mixture on the inside. It's like painfully simple. It is those 4 ingredients: Marionberries, sugar, flour, lemon juice. So I'm gonna put all of those into here, and then we can get to baking, and it's gonna be the fun part. Well, eating it's gonna be the fun part, but seeing how it turns out is also fun. Okay, here is what this, sorry that my shadow keeps getting in front of this. Here's what this looks like. It is mostly just berry. I did smash these a little bit. They're still kind of frozen, but I'm not worried about that at all. I did just kind of smash them a little bit to see if I could help get all of the rest of that flour and sugar mixture combined, and I think I did a pretty good job. So now I'm going to pop these into here. Oh, Elliot's upset. Make a small top to go on here, and then we'll be able to stick it in the oven. But first, okay, I thought that'd be more Marionberry. That was mostly sugar. Not terrible though. Okay, this is what the top crust looks like. It's not pretty. I'm aware of this, but I really did not want the top crust. This bottom crust is very thick. I do not want that much more crust in here for the berry amount. So I just wanted enough for it to like cover it. But I am gonna be a little fancy and just kind of do like this and see what happens. I'm gonna do a big one right here in the middle. And then maybe we'll do just a couple little X's in a few other spots. And just kind of see how that turns out. Yeah, give it a go. I have no idea. Okay, but this goes in the oven. I think I want a tray to put it on. In the oven, it is currently preheated to 450 degrees. So it has to be at that temperature for 10 minutes.
And then we are going to lower the temperature to 350 degrees. And then that will bake for like 45 minutes. Now, because of how much smaller this pie is, it is almost definitely not gonna take that long. So, I might actually bump this just to 8 minutes. And leave it at 8 minutes, and then we're just gonna scale back the timing on everything because it's so small. I could just change the angle of the camera rather than hunching over like this. What I'm going to do is clean up the kitchen, but I will check back in with you guys once this pie is ready to come out of the oven.
Okay, this is what it looks like fresh out of the oven. I don't think that was there a second ago. I think we tilted it a little bit and it kind of almost spilled out. This looks amazing. My little stars turned a bit bloody, but other than that, I'm really excited to give this a try, but we have to let it cool. The recipe says that we need to let it cool like almost entirely before we have any, which it says like up to an hour. I don't know if we're gonna wait that long. We might just get impatient and have it sooner than that. I'm very excited. This looks really, really nice. So let's get some nice close-up shots and then we'll taste test it. All right, it's definitely deflated some, and it's also not fully cooled down, but we are impatient and want pie, so.
Okay, well, one.
There's one. Okay, that crust looks nice and flaky. Check that out. Hello. All right, we're setting this up really fast because Elliot's starting to cry. Where's my fork? There we go. Okay.
We just had a spoon. Whatever. Okay, ready?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Okay.
I'm on board.
I'll eat the rest of mine in a minute. I gotta take care of my baby.
Okay, all right. Hey, Lambeau. Julie is upstairs putting Elliot to sleep, but I figured this is also worth a try, maybe with a little bit of ice cream. See how it goes. Because Julie can't have dairy anyway, so this is I'm helping her make sure that this tastes good with ice cream. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is perfect. So, yeah. Good job, Oregon.
Come back not even 5 minutes later and Dan put ice cream on his.
I had to try. See how it goes? And one day when we make this again, and you can have dairy, you'll know how good it was.
This is very good.
Yeah, and I was worried that it was going to be too sweet, but no. And the nice thing about like going this way, there's still like a fresh texture to the berries that oftentimes, as with if you buy things that are store-bought, over time the fruit contents get so processed that it loses a lot of its texture. But in this case, yeah, the texture is definitely there. So not too sweet.
And you can see, I don't know if it'll focus on that or not, but that's like a chunk.
Oh,
focus?
there it goes.
Ooh.
Oopsie.
Nope, no, you're just gonna fall off. Okay, well, a little bit on the tablecloth. That'll probably stain. Like there's still chunks of berry. They haven't completely cooked down into like liquid. You had asked right before we turned the camera on if this was worth 3 years of work.
I think it was worth 3 years of work. Not so simply because it mounted to this, but also hopefully what an increased yield and harvest that we're hopefully going to be getting as we're
growing it more.
Yeah,
because right now I don't know what the trellises looked like when I showed them to you last, but right now the vines on our trellis, we had it, it was in the corner and it had the two extensions going 5 foot out in either direction.
the one direction that had all the vines that were growing, we had to add another 5-foot extension to it. And the beams go up like 6 foot, right? So these vines start on the ground, they climb up, and these are the longest ones, right? Because some of them climb up and like go across at the lowest point, but I'm talking about the ones that go like all the way up to the highest point. They start from the ground, they go up about 6 feet, they go across the top of that, all 10 foot of that, and then they hang all the way down and are going like further along the ground. These vines are over 20 foot long that we have, and we have so many of them. This was easily the most work we have ever put into, or the most time we have ever put into one of these state recipe videos, and I am so excited because this wasn't a one and done thing. Like Dan was saying, like we are going to be able to make so many pies, hopefully so many jams and jellies and preserves and like just all sorts of different things. I'm very excited about this. Thank you for joining us for this state recipe. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see the last handful of state recipes that I do, or if you want to follow vlogs, because come next fall, I'm going to be harvesting those 20+ foot worth of vines and all of the berries that come along with it. And it's going to be amazing, and we're going to make all sorts of goodies with them, and you're not going to want to miss it if you enjoyed this video. So again, thank you for hanging out. We will see you in next week's video.